Boy, that's good. That'll make you love your mother-in-law, won't it?
I've tried to show as many ways possible to create moonshine, different techniques. Today I'm going to show you one of my personal recipes that I've done over and over again, and I think it works very good. People really like it. It's very simple, it's very cheap, and that is another plus here. So what I'm going to show you today is how to make an aged grape brandy moonshine. Some of the things that you'll need some containers. These containers have all been washed and rinsed. They are thoroughly clean and they are ready to use. Something you'll need: grape juice. I don't care where you get your grape juice from. I like using concentrate. It's cheap, it's economical. So you'll need 5 canisters of grape juice concentrate, or the equivalent in ready-made grape juice. You'll need sugar, at least 4 pounds of sugar. 5 wouldn't hurt. You'll need some yeast. I generally use 2 types of yeast together. I just use regular old bread yeast. And to give it a kick, this is Alcotech Turbo Yeast. Now I don't use a lot of this. I just add a little bit to this just to make sure that I'm getting all the sugars converted. But mostly I use this. So the first thing that we have to do is get our grape juice into the container. Now if you don't have your grape juice thoroughly thawed out, you'll have trouble getting it into there, of course. So it's perfectly fine to start out with a small pitcher. Get that concentrate in there. You can then add some hot water and get that ice thoroughly melted. And then get it into your container. The next thing that we need is our sugar. We'll do that the same way. We will mix it in one container and then transfer it to the bigger container. So we'll do this a little bit at a time. We'll take a couple pounds of sugar. Oh yes, and save a couple spoons to activate your yeast. And then add some hot water to that to dissolve it. Now at some point during the middle of this you should get your yeast ready, and I use about 2 spoons of yeast. It's a little heavy actually. and a little bit of turbo yeast. And to that we add some warm water, not hot water, because you don't want to instantly kill the yeast. A little bit warmer than you would make a baby's bath with. Stir that up good. And set that to the side. We're now done with our yeast. We can finish dissolving our sugar. Now when I get the yeast ready, I use warm water. But when I'm doing this part, I start with hot water to make sure that my sugar gets dissolved, make sure that the ice in the frozen concentrate gets dissolved. But then before adding the yeast, I will add some warm water to that to bring the temperature down. Okay, now all of our sugar is dissolved, and going into the container. Now this is working pretty good, but we'll give it just a little bit more time, and I'll put some more water in here. Okay, you can see this is almost frothing over, so this is as ready as it's going to get. We will add this, just to make things a little easier, I'll add this to this pitcher of water and get the foam down. And then I'll add it to the grape juice mixture. And we'll finish topping this off to about here, and we'll be good. And we'll finish topping it off. And that's good. I always leave a little bit of room in there for some breathing room in case the whole thing wants to foam up suddenly. Now we're going to cap it off, and we're also going to allow it to breathe at the same time. And I'll do this with a plastic bag. I just open it up slightly. Leave it completely folded, but just open up the end enough to get it over the end there. Slip a rubber band around it, or a hair band, or whatever you have. And you take this and just open up the rubber band, slide it over the end, and you'll know that's working good when this bag fills up completely. And all we gotta do is now let it set for about 30 minutes or so. We'll come back to it and see how we're doing. Okay, it's been less than an hour, and you see our little bag here is puffed up. That shows us that we're working really good here. And if you want, every couple of days you just go smush the bag a little bit and see if it plumps back up again, and you know that you're working good. Now as it's getting cold out, you might want to set this next to a heater, and during the cold nights, if you have an automatic thermostat like I do, you'll want to use a blanket or something, keep your mash good and warm during the cold nights. You could even put a winter coat over it. After about 5 days, you should be able to check it. It might be done. It should be done within 7 days for sure. And then you can go ahead and distill this. Now after you've distilled it and you have a nice quantity to work with, take a proofing meter and a high quality bottled water and cut this down to 100 proof. This has already been cut down to 100 proof exactly. And then you take some Jack Daniel's wood barrel chips and you give them a quick rinse in some cold water like I've done here. Just a small handful. Put it in a clean plastic or glass jar. I prefer a glass jar, but I don't have one handy at the moment, so we'll use a plastic jar. And we'll cap this off. Now, because this is a plastic jar and not a glass jar, I might warm this up just a little bit, but not a lot. If I were using a nice solid glass jar, I could give it a nice warm water bath and warm this up really good. This being a plastic jar, very weak, and I'll just let this sit for a good couple of weeks. I might warm it up in the microwave for a minute or two and then let it set, but I won't warm it up any more than that because the alcohol will start to evaporate and that'll make the jar swell up and it might fail and leak your alcohol all over the place. So usually I like using a nice used pickle jar, nice glass pickle jar for this. And when this is done aging, you have a very good homemade grape brandy. Now if you happen to age this a bit too much, always leave a little bit extra alcohol on hand and you can dilute that down with it, and then that'll cut the aging a little bit. So there you go, my recipe for a very good high quality moonshine brandy.